What's up, everyone? Welcome to Ashley Talks Movies. Today's video is a review of Presence. The movie is directed by Soderbergh and written by Koepp. The two last collaborated on 2022's Kimi. Presence follows a family that begins to suspect that they are not alone after moving into their new home in the suburbs. Before I jump into the review, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos I post here on the channel.
You wonder where they are. And you wonder what it would be like if you were there too.
Presence is being marketed as a horror movie, but it's not a horror movie in the traditional sense. This is a different take on the ghost story, on the haunted house story, but it's really just a family drama with supernatural elements. This movie is tackling these themes of grief and loss and how grief can be this like endless cycle and how it can manifest itself in other ways and how it can affect, people and relationships. And it's exploring these themes through this dysfunctional family. Now, the entire story is told from the perspective of the presence or the ghost. So it allows the story to unfold in a very interesting way. You, the audience, are given glimpses into different moments in this family's life. And you're hearing conversations that they're having with each other, or moments where these characters are saying things or doing things that might be separate from other members of their family. And you're having to piece together this story through those moments. So as you're watching these different moments unfold, you're learning a little bit more about these characters. So you learn a little bit more about the mother, played by Lucy Liu, who has some questionable things going on in her professional life. The father, played by Sullivan, as well as their teenage kids, Chloe and Tyler, played by Callina, Liang, and Eddy, Maday. And there's an eeriness about how this story is told. There's some tension there because, as you're watching it, especially when you're first watching it, you're not sure who this presence is, what their intentions are. Is this a good presence, a bad presence? Are they going to harm this family, or are they just observing? The way the story is structured definitely draws you in, at least it drew me in, and I was intrigued. I had all these questions and I was curious to see how it all played out because of how everything was set up. Because the story is told from the perspective of the ghost, it also allows for some really interesting camera work. And the camera is basically moving around this house, in and out of rooms, up and down the stairs, peeking through windows. Again, the camera operates like a person would, but also there's some really interesting camera angles, how the camera will hover over characters in a scene or linger in certain spots, or how it, moves through those different spaces. And it was very interesting. Thankfully, it wasn't, shaky cam or dizzying. It's very smooth. So you really do feel like an observer. As far as the performances go, there's some decent performances here. Lucy Liu and Sullivan are obviously the bigger stars here. But, of the performances in this movie, I think the standout was definitely Callina Liang, who plays Chloe. Her character is essentially the main character of this story. Her character is the one that is dealing with the grief. She lost a friend. And so when you're first introduced to this family, you're learning that she, is suffering a loss, and you're seeing how she deals with the grief and how her grief affects the other members of her family and how they in turn deal with her grief. And I think she did a really great job with the emotion. Also, she's playing a teenager who is acting out at times, and I think she felt very realistic. Even though I did like the uniqueness of the way that this movie was structured, I do think the storytelling here is very interesting, and it kept me intrigued, it kept me interested. I do think it does shortchange the character development, specifically with Lucy Liu's character, the mom, and also the son. And I think, those two characters, there could have been a little bit more development with those characters. And I felt like the movie didn't really allow for that. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, this movie is being marketed as a horror movie. And I do question why, because I think it does a disservice to the movie, because I think a lot of people are going to see the trailers for this movie. They're going to see, You know, the trailers that have quotes saying that this movie is like the scariest movie that you'll ever see. And they're going to go into the theater with certain expectations. And I think they're going to be really underwhelmed by this movie because they're going to expect this to be a very scary movie. And it's not that kind of movie. This movie is terrifying in ways, but it's more of like a psychological kind of terror. You know, there are moments in this movie where characters are put in positions that you do fear for them. You know, you're concerned for their safety, and you know there is that tension there in this movie. But again, this isn't like, you know, some gory, scary horror fest that's happening with this movie. This is a very sort of, you know, quiet psychological drama, family drama, again with those supernatural elements. I really enjoyed this movie. Again, it has some faults. I don't think the concept completely lands, but I liked what Steven Soderbergh was doing here. I liked the script from David Koepp. There's some very interesting dialogue that's happening. Not all of it works, but I do like what they were doing here with this movie, and I think it was a unique approach to a ghost story. It was a different way of telling this story by grounding it in this family drama and exploring this family dynamic with this. And so, yeah, I really do think this is a really good movie, even though it might not be for everybody. So those are my thoughts on Presence. If you've seen the movie or you plan on seeing the movie, let me know in the comments. While you're here, like and subscribe and stick around for more videos like this.